The more you look at Kleavor, the more you think, man, this guy wants to mess me up, but at the same time, you can't help but laugh at how twiggy his arms are. I mean, look at those things, they're sticks! You wouldn't know this thing was part rock. Anyways, welcome back YouTube, Espresso Shucko here, and today we are talking about Cypher's newest evolution, or I should say, older evolution, Kleavor. Because this thing did come out in Legends Arceus. It's a bug rock type, which means it's got 2 resistances to normal and poison. It's got 3 weaknesses to steel, rock, and water. But then again, you have Terra. You can always go for Terra to get rid of those type dynamics right there. So Kleavor here, as I mentioned, it's a bug rock type. It's got an interesting stat breakdown here. We have 85 speed, which is not quite as fast as Cypher, but it is faster than Scizor. We have 70 HP, we have 135 attack, 95 defense, 45 special attack, which none of the Cypher family cares about that. We have 70 special defense, which is nice because, as I said, we are part rock, meaning we do get Sand's special defense boost if we do play on a Sand team, so you can think about that as well. And then, as I said, we have 85 speed, and with a boosted beneficial nature for speed, if you put 196 points into it, you hit 143. At +1, you can outspeed Dragapult. That's really nice. Keep that in mind for later. So, what are we talking about with Kleavor today? Well, Kleavor gets Sharpness. Now, back in November when I did the Cypher family, we didn't have this information here. We still had Steadfast there. And God, I wish Cypher got this too instead of Steadfast, but unfortunately, them's is the ropes. Kleavor does get Sharpness, which is basically a technician for slicing moves, and slicing moves tend to have, well, some slicing moves are on par with technician moves, but slicing moves tend to be higher than 60 base power, which is really nice. So, on top of that, we do get Swarm and Sheer Force as our 2 other standard abilities. Sheer Force might not be too bad on Kleavor as well. Swarm, we're probably not going to care too much about those. So, what was I thinking with Kleavor? Well, there's a fair amount of slicing moves that do get a boosted crit rate as well, so you could go with a scope lens and try to make Kleavor into a crit machine. Additionally, this thing also gets focus energy as well, so you could really go with that if you wanted to, and then kind of make this weird pseudo non-sniper crit machine that has boosted damage from Sharpness. You could go Life Orb if you really wanted to, but what I was thinking as far as moves go, if you want to look at your stabs, we have X Scissor, which is base 80. It's getting stab. It also gets a 50% from Sharpness, which is rather nice. We could go Stone Axe, which, while it's only 65, it is a rock type stab move. It sets Stealth Rock as well. I'm not sure how the dynamic with this and Sheer Force work. I'm pretty sure Sheer Force should work with this if you wanted to do that too, but it is a slicing move. It's a rock type move. And weirdly enough, Stone Edge is not a slicing move, so we have that option right there. We get a 50% boost into Stone Axe. We have better accuracy on Stone Axe than we do Stone Edge. And factoring in Stab and Sharpness, we should be hitting comparable numbers. On top of that, we have Trailblaze. Now, Trailblaze gives us a +1 to our speed stat. It is grass type damage. We can use this to hit water types that would threaten us, especially if we want to go Terra. Now, I do have Terra Fire on this Kleavor to prevent getting burned, but Terra Fire is not the end-all, be-all Terra type for this. You could go Terra Rock to take advantage of the fact that you can keep your sand boost if you want to play this on a sand team, while also getting rid of the weaknesses from bug types, because with bug rock you are weak to other rock types, which is a little bit of a problem. But if you get rid of the bug typing right there and go Terra Rock, while you're neutral to rocks, you do become weak to ground. But on top of that, you can still hit things rather hard. You hit flying types. You have a just overall general matchup against flying types because you're super effective against them. You resist flying type stabs. If you're playing on sand, you have a boosted special defense. Your physical defense is not bad at 95. So that's an option right there. Now, Kleavor has some alternative moves that you could slide in here as well. You could slide in close combat for just raw fighting type damage. Terra Fighting on Kleavor might not be a bad idea, especially if you can set Serenes for it. Get further defense. You can go Night Slash, which does have a heightened critical hit ratio as well. That would stack nicely with the scope lens. Stone Edge, if you want to trade accuracy for power, you would be sitting at base 100 right there. If you're Terra Rock, you're looking at 200 right there. You have Rock Slide for some spread option right there. And like I mentioned, it only takes a +1 to outspeed Dragapult at 143 speed, meaning you could get some pretty quick rock slides off if you wanted to do that. And the alternative to boosting your speed as opposed to lowering your opponent's speed is you don't have to worry about them resetting that by switching themselves out, because you do get Pounce and you get Rock Tomb as well. And in this case, Rock Tomb would be better than Pounce, but the point is both of them can be undone by your opponent switching out. So if you're going for the Trailblaze, you're hitting water type super effectively while boosting your own speed stat. And now, unless you want to sub out your own Kleavor, you got that speed right there. That speed's not going to go away unless your opponent just does something to physically remove it, like they hit you with a Scary Face or go for a Haze. So you do have that. An alternative item you could also run on Kleavor as well is you could go for the Clear Amulet to prevent your own stats from being lowered, which is a good way of getting around that if you want to give up the Scope Lens. On top of that, what I was thinking too is you could run an Assault Vest to boost up your special defense, especially if you wanted to stack that with Sand and Rock types. But before going into the Assault Vest here, I do want to point out some status moves that Kleavor gets, because the Assault Vest would get rid of your ability to use status moves. You get access to Swords Dance, so you can increase your attack 2 stages. You have Agility, so if you wanted to play around with your numbers a little bit and lower all that speed point right there, you could go +2 with your Agility if you wanted to. You have Focus Energy, which would increase your crit ratio by 2. This would synergize really nicely with the Scope Lens, because now you're basically guaranteed to crit with anything. And having Sharpness boosting up all those slicing moves, that would be really gross. On top of that, you get Quick Guard. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Quick Guard though is it's the same priority as Fake Out, so you really need to know your speed dynamics. At least I'm pretty sure it's the same priority as Fake Out. So Fake Out is a +3 priority right here as far as that goes, so you do have to be careful, because Quick Guard is also a +3 priority move, so you do need to know your speed tiers right quick. No pun intended. But let's just bring up something right quick. Bring up Fake Out as a filter. So this is everything that gets Fake Out right here. So Salazzle 117, Raichu 110, Persian. So there are some fast Fake Out users, but on the flip side, there's also a lot of slow Fake Out users too. Like Delibird, you would, I mean, you'd never run into Delibird unless you're running against some weird spice. But like Gothitel's got a 65. You're guaranteed to outspeed that Fake Out right there with a Quick Guard. Grimmsnarl's only 60. Hariyama, 50. Bring up Iron Hands for a second. Yeah, Iron Hands is also 50. So that is something to keep in mind. You could outspeed Fake Out if you know your speed tiers. So Quick Guard could be a good option to have on Kleavor as well. It could be some interesting tech to help take things out. You get access to Defog, which is better for more singles because you can remove entry hazards. You can clear the train as well, so you could do that too. Weirdly enough, this thing gets light screen. That's madness to me, but the more you know. Let's see. You get Stealth Rock, but you have Stone Axe, which does both. You do get Tailwind, so keep in mind, Tailwind is also a good option for Kleavor. I mean, I talked about running Tailwind on Scizor, and I've had some interesting situations where I've run Tailwind on my Scizor and had it pay off, and then other times I'm like, why did I put this on this move slot? But you do get access to Tailwind as well. And like I said too, like, you do have some alternative damaging moves. U-turn is also an option that you could throw on here, because then Kleavor could get out, especially if you wanted to run like close combat, and then that way you'd be lowering your own defenses. You could follow up with a U-turn if you really wanted to. Now Kleavor 2, you could benefit and make the case for a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf. With that 143 right there, a Choice Scarf Kleavor would be naturally faster than Dragapult. You could lock yourself into something. You could free up a move slot. You'd actually be able to free up 2 move slots, because you could be able to get rid of Trailblaze and Protect. Now, if you wanted to run a Choice Band, I would say keep Trailblaze, because You never know, you might want to get that speed. But that is a thing right there, and Trailblaze isn't a sharpness boosted move, so you could also just opt for getting rid of Trailblaze altogether and go for something else, like maybe Night Slash. You can go for close combat. It's pretty flexible, despite this thing being so rigid as a rock, but hey, just think about that. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about Kleavor, and I hope you try it out once Kleavor eventually becomes legal in competitive play. So, anyways, see you later.